Now, if you guys are fans of the show, you know we've done a bunch of different soups and stews over the years. The reason we do that is because you can use almost any kind of fish that you have, and they beg for improvisation. So we're gonna do the same thing again today. We're gonna make another kind of fish soup, making it off the cuff. It's basically going to be kind of an Italian wine-based fish soup. Should be absolutely delicious. We're gonna add some pasta to it at the end, so it'll be like a noodle soup in that regard. So let's get going with it. First thing, we've already got the Camp Chef stove going. This is a very portable stove. It can go anywhere you want to go with it. So we're gonna put a pretty good dose of olive oil in there. And we're gonna put a bunch of onions in there. And of course, anytime you add onions or anything to a dish, you want to give it a little tiny bit of seasoning as well. So we'll go with just a pinch of salt and some fresh pepper as well. A little bit of bell pepper adds a little bit of color to the dish and a little bit of flavor. Give him a stir, and then we'll let that go for a couple of minutes. We want this just to cook down. It doesn't have to get cooked all the way down, but enough to where it'll render out some of the flavor, sweat some of the onions out as well. See, those are starting to sweat down a little bit now. It's looking like they're getting a little bit of translucence to my onions. It'll only take a couple minutes in there. So I'm gonna add to this a couple of sun-dried tomatoes, and we're gonna let those cook for another minute or two. We've got some minced garlic right here. We're gonna put a pretty good dose of that in there. So we got a couple of olives, and we're gonna chop a couple of these up just real small. We're gonna add them to there as well. They'll add a certain brininess to the whole thing. Okay, so here we've got some par-cooked bacon. It's partially cooked. We're gonna add the bacon to it with a pretty good splash of white wine. I mean, like 3/4 of a cup or half a cup anyway of white wine in there. And also a little bit of seafood stock. Now I'm just letting it reduce down. It's been cooking for about 5 or 6 minutes at this point, and it's reduced by about half or a little more than half. We're gonna add a whole can of diced tomatoes and their liquid into there. A couple of green onions in there, and a little bit of flat leaf parsley. Let that cook in as well. We'll stir all that in. So we're gonna let that cook for a few minutes, let it cook down. So now we're gonna climb back in here, and we're gonna add a little bit more seafood stock to this whole thing. You don't wanna add your fish until it's basically done, because the fish is going to cook in just a couple of minutes. And in this particular case, I've got some chunked up white bass. We're gonna take all of this chunked up fish and put all of it in here, all in one shot, just like that. And here, I'm not really sure how much I want to add, so we're gonna kind of feel it out a little bit. And this orzo is pre-cooked, but it's very, very al dente. And there you have it, guys. That's gonna cook for just a couple of minutes, and just long enough to get that fish to where it'll start flaking apart. And you always want to taste for seasoning ahead of time with soups or stews or anything like that, so you can adjust them before they're done. Pretty good. Needs some salt. No doubt about it. Needs a little bit of salt. So we're gonna add a little bit of salt to it and a little bit of pepper as well. And we're gonna let it cook just for a minute or so. All right, guys, you can see that that's nice and thick at this point. You just wanna check and see when I push this fish up against the edge, you see it breaks apart. Here's this piece right here. It breaks without any effort at all, which tells me that it's totally done. I've tasted it a couple times now for seasoning. I know that my seasoning base is where I want it. At this point, this is done. We're gonna get a bowl of this. Look how thick that soup is, guys. I'm not gonna need a bowl near this big. So something like that. We'll sprinkle a little bit of these green onions on top and a little bit more flat leaf parsley. All right, guys, there's my final product right there. Put a little bit of Parmesan right on top of there, and it's looking pretty tasty, guys. It's just a very, very simple tomato-based fish soup. We've done several of them on Fishful Thinker. Why? Because they're delicious, they're easy, they beg for improvisation. You can cook them anywhere with any kind of fish you have. So check out the recipe at fishfulthinker.com or on our YouTube channel. You can see the video of it there as well. And that's at Fishful Thinker, same as all the other social media at Fishful Thinker across all platforms. We'd appreciate you joining the conversation with those. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show, the fishing and the cooking, and you'll tune in and see what we might be cooking and catching next week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.